Hi, everyone. It's Joe Veneri, the host of Fitt Insider, the show where I talk with the entrepreneurs, executives, and investors who are redefining the business of fitness and wellness. Today, I'm joined by Sadie Lincoln. Sadie is the co-founder and CEO of barre3. In today's episode, we talked about building an authentic community, why the fitness industry isn't working, and Sadie's thoughts on the future of barre3, including the role of technology, private equity, and strategic partnerships. Let's get into it. Hi, Sadie. Welcome to Fitt Insider. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Joe.
Excited to chat today. I appreciate you making some time. And to kick things off, can you give us the quick backstory of starting and scaling barre3?
Yeah, I'll give you the nickel tour. My husband and I, Chris Lincoln, co-founded it in August of 2008 is when we opened our first studio in the midst of the global financial crisis. If we can all think back to those days. And we opened our first studio in Portland's Pearl District. And at the time, Portland was kind of a ghost town. Things were, it was a hard time, but we basically shut out all the noise and the people that said, don't do that now. Why would you do that now? Because we knew that boutique fitness was needed because the sense of connection and community was really important in that moment. And we also knew we sort of scratched our own itch. We created barre3 based on what we really needed and where we wanted to spend our energy, including time and money. And it was in a fitness modality that really empowered us from within and that gave us permission to move in a way that was intuitive and to create a positive relationship with fitness. And that was really our motivation and drive behind our first studio in Portland. We sold our house in the Bay Area. We lived in the Bay Area. We sold it, fun fact, on Craigslist. Right as the housing market was crashing, we did our research real quick and figured out that we wanted to save on the realtor fees and we could figure it out. We both, I'm like, I can make a flyer. I can sell this.
Right.
And we did. And we used every penny of that to start barre3.
And just thinking about where the company is today, how many locations have you grown to now in terms of franchise locations or corporate owned and just the number of employees that are involved?
We have 6 company owned studios and around 170 total studios. Not all of them are open. I think around 150 are open now, 20 in various stages from signing the lease to construction.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about that, one of the things that I think is so interesting when you now looking back on starting the company, and you mentioned some of the things, community and kind of that positivity, the reasons why you started, and certainly going from getting that first studio up and running to now hundreds of locations, going on 200 locations. Is this what the original vision for the company was? Did you think it would get this big and take this kind of trajectory?
Yeah, we wrote a business plan and we did know it was going to be big. We didn't know how big, but I had a feeling that, well, for one thing, I knew that barre was going to explode. I knew that the space of barre, there was something in it that was really special and distinct. And then our take on barre combined a little more yoga philosophy to that. And I had a feeling that was going to take off. I also knew that there were so many women like me who wanted to start their own business. And the idea of franchising as a growth strategy appealed to me in that moment because so many people were laid off from their jobs or for one reason or another found themselves in a place of wondering, hey, I kind of want to control my destiny a little more. I just got a hard lesson of being out of control and feeling like I couldn't really call the shots and I want to build my own community and my own business. I had a feeling that mindset was proliferating in that moment. I think our original business plan, that being said, I think our original business plan was in like the first 5 years to grow a 40 studio family of studios in the Pacific Northwest. And our first official signed deal was in the Philippines. So, right away we had some fun surprises.
Yeah, not exactly according to plan, but can't complain when folks are wanting to kind of join that family. I think one thing, getting people involved and wanting to have this kind of family franchise. Most people, is it true that most people were kind of exercisers themselves? They are coming to the studio and then opted into franchising?
Yeah, to this day, we're really inside out. And in fact, our very first employees, our first instructors were not fitness instructors. They were clients who saw themselves in the product and believed in it and wanted to help us grow it. And that's true for our franchisees to this day.
And I think that point, and you mentioned earlier in starting the company, the community aspect differentiated barre3, and you wanted to create something that was different from what existed. What do you think that was specifically when you look at even, in 2008 when you were getting started? What void were you filling in the marketplace? And then how have you been able to continue that as boutique fitness has only become more and more crowded?
Yeah, I think in the beginning I grew up, professionally, I grew up at 24-Hour Fitness. I landed a job there when I was 25, right out of grad school. I had the remarkable experience of working for Mark Masterov, the founder and former CEO of 24-Hour Fitness for many years. He kind of took me under his wing, which was really, to this day, I'm so appreciative for it because I learned the business. I learned fitness as a business. And on the other side of that coin, I also learned that I felt lonely in the big box. The big gym environment felt, to me, clinical. I felt lost in it. I didn't have a sense of true community and connection. And that was really lacking for me. I felt that in yoga studios, but I missed a good downbeat and some of the vigor of fitness that I found in the gym environment. I think it all boiled down to intimacy, just that feeling of true connection. And I know that when we opened our doors, that is what drew people in. In August of 2008, I was checking people in. I knew every single client. Chris, my husband, was literally holding babies in childcare. I'd teach the class, we'd sign them out, and then clean the studio. We did everything. And the community here in Portland really rallied around us because of that. We needed to have a good class. The class worked. It was exciting. It was different. That's obviously important. That's the epicenter of our product. And I would say that what kept people coming back was the sense of, wow, they own this, they really care about this, and they care about me, and they know who I am and my backstory. And that is still our truth. And why in this moment, here we are, all of us sheltered home. We're not even able to get into the studios. And we are resilient as an organization right now. And I believe it's because we chose franchising, and we're owner operated. So each of our franchisees are very much like Chris and I were in the beginning, checking people in, holding babies in childcare, teaching the classes, knowing every client, really embedded in the community. And because of that, their community is loyal to them right now. And, maintaining their memberships, for example, buying class packages, even though they can't get into the studio. So I think that is part of what's helped us sustain through all these years.
Absolutely. And just putting some context around that, we're recording this in April, mid the COVID-19 outbreak. Obviously, fitness studios, along with basically every other kind of business, is closed right now. And that element of community continues to come up when people are talking about now they're exercising at home. How do they support their personal trainers or group fitness instructors or studios that they've gone to? And it's one thing to say community, and it's another thing to be there on the kind of ground floor as you're building it and scaling it and growing it. So beyond just kind of the lip service that people typically pay to that, how do you think you're able to instill it in people, whether that was the the folks that were coming to the studio to exercise, the people that eventually became franchise owners, and make sure that it's kind of transferable from you, the way that you feel it, to now these other people in the family of franchises?
I think instilling community, number one, the thing that comes up for me is really being clear on our core values and attracting and hiring and onboarding people who are already aligned with those core values. It's a natural part of who they are. It's not something they're working towards. And how we define a core value at barre3 is just what I said, that it's already in you. It's not something you're going to work towards. We are willing to take a financial hit to uphold that core value because it means so much to us. And it's also how we weed out team members. It's basically a fireable offense if someone isn't embodying that core value, because it's that important to us. And one of our top core values is everybody matters. And how we define everybody matters is, well, one way of looking at it, for example, is collective wisdom, in that we heal in community. We don't heal alone. And every single person matters in that room, in the studio, for example. Every single person matters equally. And that includes the instructor. The instructor is not the all-knowing. We don't have a guru. This is not a Sadie Lincoln methodology at all. We really do practice learning from our clients, taking that data and then evolving the class to meet their needs. And so that is something we train on right from the beginning. And a very practical, specific example of that is when we do instructor training, we sit in a circle, and right from the beginning, if I was leading the training, I would say, even though you all don't know how to teach the barre3 class yet, you're already going to be a teacher. And by the end of this training, I'm going to learn from you. And because of that, barre3 will be better. And before we get started, I'd like for everybody to go around and share what wisdom you're bringing to barre3. So right in minute one, they already know they matter and that their wisdom matters. That's community. That's truly a practice of community. And we'll get stories like, I was a Division I athlete. I blew my knee out, and it took me down to my knees, literally and figuratively, because I identified with being physical and I couldn't play the game anymore. It was crushing. And when I found barre3, I learned to honor my injury, listen to it compassionately and not have shame around it, and get a vigorous physical workout and community and connection. I feel like I have a new team. That's an example of someone sharing their story, immediately being part of that community. And then I can't wait to share that with clients and learn from them, their experience and how barre3 means to them. So, I think that kind of just sitting around, like in the old days, we used to sit around a fire and tell war stories or really listen to each other. Those kinds of practices are how we've continued to fuel community within our organization.
That's really incredible to hear you describe that experience and what you're asking of the instructors. I think one thing that was interesting in there was you said this wasn't about a guru. It's not the Sadie Lincoln method. Was that what went into that thought process and decision? Because so often you see, and especially now when you kind of look at the fitness landscape, the idea of having the fitness guru or influencer or kind of know-it-all wellness person, that is how things tend to play out. So at what point did you kind of decide that's not what we're going to do here?
That's been my life's journey, I think. So many lessons along the way. On a personal note, I always felt, as I've been a fitness instructor for lots of years, like 25 years maybe now, and I always felt this immense sense of pressure for many years, and it's a practice to this day, to feel pressure to be kind of like the after picture, the rock solid, super athlete, beautiful body, someone aspirational, someone who would do flawless burpees and killer squats. And, I was trained that way. I remember back in the day, one of this woman that I looked up to at the time, she didn't allow me to teach a class because I couldn't lift heavy enough weights and it wasn't aspirational enough. I've been in the room with producers. Literally, I had an experience in LA where I was told to undress in front of her and try on a bunch of different outfits. And she carefully crafted an outfit that hid all my trouble spots for a video I was shooting. Crushing. Right. And by the way, that video, I still wasn't good enough. They photoshopped me almost beyond recognition for the cover. So I think this idea of that there is someone outside of ourselves who is the athlete or who is the fitness hero that we're working towards is a broken way of looking at fitness. And that if we could all change that narrative and instead exercise with the recognition that we have the answers inside of ourselves, and that's the exercise, is to continuously ask ourselves, where am I at right now? And what do I need? Where am I at right now in my body? And what do I need? And yes, learn from experts about, the mechanics of exercise, how to align the body for success, why it's important to take your body to failure just enough so that it rebuilds. Learn from people with an open mind, of course, but most importantly, learn to trust what works in your body. And none of us can be someone else. And that someone else is often not that person anyways, to my point of photoshopping.
Yeah, I think that kind of digging into that, one of the things that we've talked about before on the podcast and in the newsletter is this idea that even though the spending on fitness and wellness has kind of increased to record heights, so have health issues, so has obesity. And so
That's
really
right.
There's a disconnect between what we think the commercialized version is and what's happening in terms of any impact in health outcomes for the vast majority of people. And so it's kind of a loaded question, I guess, but if you could wave a magic wand and change the way you said fitness as it stands is broken. So what does fitness done correctly look like?
I'm not sure there's a way to not be attached to an outcome, to honoring the present moment. But let's go back to the data, because I think this is interesting for all of us in the fitness industry. In 1980, I think that's when fitness became a product, a service that we all recognized as something we needed in more of a mainstream way, right? I think we can all agree that. Just think of the aerobics craze, right? 1980. We, from that beginning, and we studied fitness. We've all studied fitness. It works. When we study it in a lab, it works. We know that exercise is important. We know that it helps us get to a healthy body weight, that building muscle is important. Having strong bones is important. Having a good posture is important. We know that when you do fitness, it works. That is undeniable. But here's the interesting thing. Since 1980, the fitness industry is now a $30 billion industry. It has been upper right-hand corner growth year over year. Many of us listening to this podcast have been a part of that tremendous success. Since 1980, global obesity has doubled. More alarming to me are body image issues, anxiety, depression, eating disorders, body dysmorphia, and our general sense of confidence and well-being in our body is not better. It is worse. And I think it's important for us to look at that data and adjust how we're selling fitness. And I really do believe it's how we sell fitness versus how we do fitness. I think we all do fitness really well. I don't believe, back to the guru model, I don't believe barre3 is the answer. I think it's one way to move. I think all movement is important. And I don't get into those debates over, do you flex the spine in crunches or not? I don't even get into those debates because I don't think it matters. I think it matters just that we're all moving and we're strong and we're in it to help people get healthy. Where I think we all need to adjust is how we're selling fitness. And most fitness is sold to this day based on this idea of there's a before and after picture. That you start out, if you do this fitness, if you do this product and you do it in a certain order, you will get to the after. We sell a result. We sell the future, which is imagined. It's an ideal. And for many of us, it's rooted in shame because we can't get there because it's in the future, it's imagined, and it's usually a picture of success of someone else. It's not ourselves. And when it is ourselves, it's an imagined version of ourselves. And I'll give you an example of kind of the backwards version of that is oftentimes we'll sell like postnatal workouts based on bouncing back, going back in time, get back into your skinny jeans, get back to the way you used to be before you had a child. To me, that's just a sad message, right?
Yeah.
What if we all sold fitness to be alive and honest in our bodies as they are in this very moment? And I think if we all did that, this is what gets me excited. If we all did that, we would change the conditioned narrative that our children are born into that tells them they are not enough as they are. I think we could change so much more than our industry. I think we could change how people relate to their bodies and how people relate to fitness. So many people see fitness as a chore. We all know that. They see it as something outside of themselves that other people do. And I think that's the reason.
Yeah. And I agree totally. And I think that's a huge hurdle because it is, even when you look back, not just in the messaging and the before and after, it's so much of the branding in the fitness industry looks exactly the same. It's kind of the same body types and it's the same lifestyle and it's the same where it's all geared towards, how do I reach this future version of myself that clearly if I need to reach that future version, the current version isn't good enough as you pointed out. Do you think that's a matter of, is that branding and messaging? Is that instructors? Where does that kind of start and how can we begin to instill that different approach?
The first step is just being curious about the data. I think that's important to really look at the data without ego and without being rooted to legacy and what sold before. I think that's the first step of all of us getting like radical curiosity around this. Like, how can we truly make this world healthier together? And then start to peel it back and figure out what works for each of our respective brands, because we all will talk in a different way. We all have a beautiful, unique way of imprinting the world. But I would suggest it's with a heightened awareness around that as fitness grows, our health is declining. So that's one, that I think that's the main thought I have around that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just all of us being curious and then asking listening to our clients. That's the other thing. Truly listening to the clients, or customers, or however each brand refers to their audience, and honoring those people and having them be the face of what's happening in the world. I think all of us, including barre3, can do a better job with diversity and inclusion. Having fitness truly be represented across all races, gender, age, body shapes, sizes, so that the world sees themselves in fitness. Back to your point about that was a good nuance that you asked about marketing and branding. I don't think it's of service to do a photo shoot with diversity if that's not what's truly represented in our boxes, in our studios and gyms. So it really does start for me, like with the diversity and inclusion. That's a question we all have in my headquarters, and we're really getting to the root of that. And where we keep going is, well, we need to start raising diversity within our leadership and in our instructor base and in the people we hire, so that it's truly reflected, and then we can market it.
Sure. I think all those things, and it goes back to the authenticity, kind of being true to that community, being true to yourself, all those things that kind of shine through and important takeaways there if we're going to make that impact. Kind of changing gears a little bit. One thing I wanted to circle back to, and we were talking about, now all being forced to stay at home and how folks are continuing to support their studios. Another aspect of that is technology. And, long before the kind of COVID outbreak, there's been this feeling, this sense that there's a shift towards at home or on demand or just using technology in general for different workout purposes, whatever you enjoy doing. Kind of how has the COVID-19 outbreak impacted what you're doing at barre3 in terms of the number of folks? I mean, obviously there's a incredible decline with not being able to go to the studio, but how are you utilizing technology? What role does streaming play? And just how do you think about that?
It's huge. I don't think it's going away. I think this is going to be a new landscape for any fitness operator and a lot of business for that matter. But how can we reach people through a digital platform, wherever they are? And it's been absolutely remarkable to witness the entire fitness industry figure this out at home, almost literally overnight, right? Within a week, we rallied and our franchise owners quickly figured out how to live stream Zoom classes. And it's not perfect. It's very scrappy. I mean, literally we'll have instructors teaching in their living room with like dogs circling them. And what we've learned is that that's okay. It's created this amazing, talk about intimacy, like seeing all of our clients in their sweet homes, figuring it out with us, working out with us, being able to reach people through, that platform has been really eye-opening. And for me as a franchisor, what I've learned from this is to let go and to not be so precious about creating a quote unquote premium brand, and to trust my franchisees even deeper and their wisdom and their ability to make it happen with their iPhone and their partner and maybe their kid helping them out. The speed at which we have innovated and been able to and are able to reach so many people so quickly has really kind of taken my breath away, to be honest. And then to see it across every fitness concept is pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah, one of the things that we said was there's never been more fitness content created or consumed at any point in history. It overnight, because it was forced, they certainly responded and have been able to, in some cases, continue that relationship, improve that relationship between the instructors in the studios and the exercise seekers. It's been really incredible to watch. And with that shift, one of the things that you suggested is that this has changed. It's not going to be the same as it was before. How are you thinking about kind of providing that dual option, that not just folks coming to the studios, but also the at home or on demand, and that impacting the kind of roadmap for what you want to be able to do at barre3?
Yeah, we're just starting to kind of be able to focus a little bit on the future. We, as all of everybody listening, I'm sure every day has been about survival, right? And just doing in the moment and making sure we're learning about PPP and unemployment and furloughing and Zoom classes and talking to our owners, coaching each other. It has been a wild, wild ride. And I have had a moment or two to take a deep breath and think about, what does this mean for our future? And say one of the things that we're starting to do, which is really exciting, is we're having our owners, we're able to watch all these instructors across the nation now teach classes, and we're finding how much rich talent is out there in our organization. And I have one person dedicated to really observing that, coaching, how to communicate, how to create community through a camera versus in person. So our talent has just spiked. Like, we have way more people now we know we can get on camera who do represent diversity, which is really, really exciting. I think that live streaming is going to be important. This idea of people tuning in together. I'm curious about that. I'm curious if that's going to continue once we all have the option of going into the studio. I know Peloton's had great success with that. For barre3, what we found is when we did a live kind of streamed class, when we had studios, they'd rather be in the studio for the live experience. And
Sure.
the reason they chose online was because it fit within their schedule, and they didn't really care about it being together. But I don't know. I wonder if that's going to shift, because we are finding that sense of community and people able to comment right in the moment has added a lot of value to that online experience. So I think that's probably going to shift a bit.
Yeah, I think there will be a learning curve for everyone across the board. The one interesting part of that is the kind of, talent aspect that you mentioned. It's almost as if there was like a star search of barre3 instructors that was now opened up. So the amount of content that can be created and the connectivity that can be improved, even with these folks that you now know, their talents, will be interesting to see. And I think that's happening across the board at lots of different studios with instructors. One thing you hinted on as well is you said you kind of had a moment to, sit back and amidst all the chaos, think about the future a little bit. And this question is certainly forward looking into the future. I'm curious, in the fitness space, there have been a number of boutique brands who have exited to, whether it's private equity or a bigger holding company. This year was supposed to be the year of some pretty big fitness IPOs, whether that was F45 or Exponential. How have you thought about, if you had any intention of exiting the company or the long-term kind of ownership, and what role you play in that?
Yeah, I'm still feeling like I don't want to do that in this moment in time. And I really truly mean this moment in time. I'm still open to it. And I love speaking to private equity and different organizations, even angel investors who are interested in helping us with capital. I think there will be a time when we need to do that. What I'm present with right now is how grateful I am that my investors are owning and operating the studios. My investors are our franchisees. They've put their life savings into building this organization with us. And because of that, I have 150 badass partners who are helping me problem solve, rolling up their sleeves and making it happen right in this moment. And we're doing it because we all care so much about our communities and our clients. And it feels so good and it feels so right. So I don't want to lose that. And if we could figure out a way potentially to get private equity and have a partnership, and if I could just know and have complete confidence that our motivation will always be about the client and her body and feeling good in it and building community, changing the narrative to one of empowerment versus shame. If I knew that, I would definitely be open to it. I'm honestly not driven by money. And that was actually proven. We just did the Hogan assessment. Have you heard of that, Joe?
No, I haven't.
It's this C-level kind of strength finder. And we did it because it's how we found our new COO, who's phenomenal. And what we found when we did this, and it comes with a behavioral psychologist who works with you. It's this really like badass, supercharged strength finder. And what we found is both Chris and I are super low on the commerce value. And we're really high on altruism. So that's supports some of our decisions. I mean, we're kind of like, oh yeah, we kind of run this like a nonprofit and we're okay with that. But we're changing that. We've hired Bruce Edwards, who is our COO. He's done an incredible job in the last 2 months. It's been quite the education and test for him as a leader to come in during this epic era. And he's really taken the bull by the horns and is leading in a really respectful way. He was with CrossFit for 7 years prior to joining us. So he's pretty amazing. We're happy to have him. He does have a high commerce value. So it's a nice balance for us, for sure.
Yeah, that's important. That balance is important. And building on that and actually kind of wrapping up, so we'll get you out of here on this. You mentioned that, you kind of haven't found the path, whether it's private equity or otherwise, to, kind of exit the company or kind of hand off that involvement in some way, and not being driven by the money to do that, although building out the team to expand those capabilities. What does the kind of next phase look like for you? Is continuing to grow this and maintain that authenticity and almost altruism within the company? But what does that growth look like?
Well, back to the commerce thing. I kind of joke about that just because I thought it was funny, but I do care about proving this company out as profitable and wildly successful, and doing it in a disruptive way, such as not selling fitness based on the after, selling fitness because you're great just as you are, right? Some of these sort of disruptive notions that we haven't done, the fitness industry by and large hasn't done before. So that's really exciting to me. The other thing that's really exciting to me is to continue to figure out how our franchisees can be even more profitable. That is where we're focusing. How can we continue to build a model that drives their success? And that, because we're so driven around that, we are focused on all kinds of things. Like, I think in the next 5 years, we're all going to notice that real estate's going to become available again. There's going to be less of a barrier there. I think build out and construction costs will likely go down. That's really good news for small business owners, franchisees, and multi-unit operators. The digital component, figuring out how digital can truly scale our company in a way that also builds community and feeds our franchisees the revenue, the clients, the awareness that they need to be successful, will continue to be a focus of ours. And then I think the big change for us is we are really in a place of being open to strategic partners. And that is something I will definitely entertain. Partnering with other organizations, businesses who do things we don't do well, and who expand and elevate what we already do. Whether that be an amazing food partner, even a fitness partner who does a modality of exercise that's a complement to barre3, body work, meditation, mindfulness. So a lot of expanding through strategic partnerships is something I'm keen on researching and moving forward with as well.
Yeah, all exciting things, and certainly a lot of opportunity there to kind of expand the reach and continue to provide value on both sides, whether that's for the franchise owners or for the kind of fitness seekers. So it'll be exciting to watch as that continues to grow. And wrapping up and thinking about, folks that are listening, whether they want to get in touch, maybe that's folks from the kind of strategic partnership side, other modalities. What's the best way to get in touch and just continue the conversation?
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on this call, Joe. It's really a pleasure to be able to speak with other fitness professionals. I think that's sort of the drawback of having a big company is so much of my time is invested inside barre3. And I'm really working on stepping outside of that and connecting to the broader landscape of fitness. So it's really lovely to be introduced to all of the listeners. Instagram, my handle is Sadie Lincoln. Direct message me there. barre3.com is our main website, and you can check us out there. We have a 15-day free online trial if you want to try our online workouts and play in that space, see what we're doing there. I'd love your feedback. I'd love to hear your direct experience of that right now. Feel free to tune in to our live Zoom stream classes, get to know our owners on a real level. I would invite you there as well. And my door is open. I'd love to hear from anybody.
That's fantastic. Sadie, I'm very grateful, especially, amid the kind of chaos now. Things are kind of uncertain. So I appreciate you taking a few minutes to chat with us, and really excited to share this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. Stay safe, stay well, wash your hands, all the good things.
Absolutely will do. Thanks everyone for listening to today's episode. For more from Fitt Insider, visit insider.fit.co and subscribe to our weekly newsletter for insights and analysis on the business of fitness and wellness. Then, go ahead and subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. See you next time.